I used to tell my daughter that about you, someone should not come and tell me. About you, you should tell yourself. You want to tell anything, parents? Parents, keep the channels open, don't close. Closing is the worst thing in life. If the child is scared of you, that's the worst thing in life. Then they will tell somebody. Or if they, who can tell them the best advice other than mother? So please keep the channels open. You may not like it at times. Many times actually, you don't like it. Okay? But allow them to talk to you. And explain to them in case you are not happy, why. Children are very logical. They understand why you cannot accept. And when you accept with your conditions. Please keep the channel open. You should not make them get scared. I'm scared to tell my mother means there's something is gone wrong. Don't do that. Parents, keep the channels open. Children, even though mother scolds you, but still you have to talk to her because that is the only, everything in this life has a price. Anything including this bottle, everything has a price except mother's love. It is the one thing which is priceless, which is unconditional. Which is unconditional. She may get upset now. After 5 minutes, she'll be all right. Mothers, don't get upset. Even though you are upset, don't show at that moment. You cool down and accept it. Don't show you are very upset and crying, beating. Don't do that. First you listen. If you are upset, okay, better I'll talk to you after half an hour. By half an hour, you also cool down. Because it's very natural when you are young, you get upset. At my age, I don't get upset because my age is also an advantage. So, please don't show you are upset. Talk to them. If you are upset, talk after half an hour. After half an hour, you'll be normal. Yes.
Good afternoon, ma'am. So, I just wanted to ask you, what drew you to philanthropy?
In India?
In India.
In Maharashtra? In Karnataka? Where do you want?
In India.
Okay.
I've read all about your books and it really inspires me how all over India you've done so much for the underprivileged and all these people. So I just wanted to know.
Yeah, I work all over India, including Jammu Kashmir. Please sit down, beta. Northeast, everywhere. For the last 20 years we are working and we are working school children, building schools, building toilets actually. My first project was building toilets. We built 14,000 toilets. 14,000 toilets, 4,000 flood houses, handled 7 national calamities like earthquake, tsunami, floods, drought, in every field. Right now we are working in drought. In south of Maharashtra we started working. So we work in different areas for the last 20 years. And that I like that job, and that's the reason I say every day is a holiday for me, because I like my job so much.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, so in one of your quotes, you had said that you don't have a syllabus in life, you don't have a question paper, right? Miss, you had said in one of your quotes.
No, I didn't get, come again.
One doesn't have a syllabus in life nor a question paper. Miss, but how don't you have a model answer paper, miss? Because the experiences that you learn from others, doesn't that become a model answer?
In life, there is no perfect answer. See, in college and school, you have syllabus. Okay, between this and this chapter, if you read, you know how to answer. And you know examination dates also. After you pass out after your degree and go to a job, every day there is a crisis. Some days you may not have crisis. Some days you get all the crisis in one day. The ability to handle crisis, if you learn, then you will not have problem. Don't expect life will be very smooth. It's only in a movie. You meet a hero and get married. He will be in a big job. Everything is fine. One day the villain comes. In real life, not that. You may be very good worker. Your colleagues may not be good with you. You may be an excellent daughter-in-law. Mother-in-law may be a little nasty. Okay, these are all part of life. But nobody remains. Please remember, every difficulty is a helium balloon. It is not I have told. This one Dimple Kapadia told. I liked it. Every difficulty in life is a helium balloon. And sometimes it stays with you and then it goes up. She is not a graduate, but the kind of statement she made, I liked it a lot. So please remember, in real life, Undefined problems will come. If you are intelligent, you don't have to have your own experience. Okay, I will fail and I will learn. No. I will see somebody has some difficulty, how they passed out, or how they failed. Learn from them, and if you incorporate, you are a very smart person. If that failure affects you and you learn from your own hard work, you are an average person. Even though you fail and if you don't learn, then you are really a dull person. These are the three classes in real life. Learn from others' mistake, learn from your own mistake, don't learn from your own mistake. So try to become number one, learn from others' mistake. And if not possible, learn from your own. Don't ever think of the third degree. Okay, fine.
Miss, as a writer, what writing advice would you like to give?
As a writer, what advice?
Writing advice.
Writing
Tips to give.
tips.
Even
I think other day I told, one is to be a writer, you should read a lot. Actually, you should read a lot. You should every day make it a habit to read actually. Then, about at least 50 pages a day. New book, not the same book. Okay? Every day, actually, I did like that when I was young girl of your age. Every day I used to write 25 lines of my own. Anything, my own. Like I went to the market, I saw these things, I came back, I helped my mother in kitchen, like a diary. In our time, we had a diary. Today, that concept of diary is not there. So every day I have to write diary, and you can't write a story every day. So 25 lines every day I used to write. For several years, it improved A, my handwriting, B, my communication skills. So every day if you read, that helps you a lot to understand somebody's difficulties. Second thing is you should be a very sensitive person. If some beggar is on the road, and if you are not sensitive, then you don't even bother. The most sensitive human being ever produced was Buddha, who was a prince, saw someone was suffering and became a monk. Other was Jesus Christ. He saw people are suffering from leprosy, and he gave up his life to give them medicine or to help them. People who are sensitive care for others. But nobody can become a Buddha or a Jesus Christ. That is the highest point. We are all normal people. Care for others, be sensitive, absorb the relevance, and do read every day. That makes you probably a writer. But initially what you write, you should not publish. Just write it and keep for some time. The reason is, when you are 16 or 18, your ideas are not matured. They are not practical. When you grow older and see so more difficulties, actually people who see a lot more difficulties can write better because they know what is in somebody else's mind. If you are always, you have always money, you are always successful, then you may not be able to understand people who are not successful, what is their mindset. So you have to undergo all these difficulties to write better. And that is the reason I spend about 5 days in a year, just to understand what people feel. 5 days in a year, what I do, in a temple, I wash vessels. I don't do any other work except washing temple vessels, cooking vessels, etc., and cleaning the floor 5 days in a year, because it makes me to understand how a poor man lives on such job and what are their aspirations in life. Once in a year, I travel by local bus for 2 or 3 days. Okay? Otherwise, I will never come to know. I'll be insulated from people because the kind of facility I have, I'll be insulated from the real world. It should not happen. And once in a year, or maybe twice in a year, I go by second class without reservation. Because I should know what life it is for common man. If you don't understand what is the life of a common man, you will never be able to understand their difficulties. It seems Henry Ford's granddaughter, you know that story, I suppose. Henry Ford's granddaughter was in a school and the teacher told, write something about poverty. She did not know what to write because she was Henry Ford's granddaughter. She came back and wrote. There was a couple, they were extremely poor, they had only 5-bedroom house. They had a car which was only 1-year-old model. They had only one cook and one driver. With that poor condition, they continued for some time. There is nothing wrong in her because she has not seen what life is. So I would tell you, you must experience difficulties. You should mix with people, understand what they feel. And this is what life we lead is not a real life. Understanding someone's life is also equally important. That makes you a better writer.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, what is your... Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, what inspires you to do so much every day? Like, what is your inspiration?
My schedule every day.
Your inspiration?
My inspiration are poor people, actually. My inspiration are poor people because when I look at them, I always say, everybody wants to be born in a rich family. Everybody wants. Because it's a natural desire, no? You get good education, good food, good facility, everything. But there is an invisible line between poor and rich. Why people are born there, we do not know. There's not invisible, there's a visible line. There's somebody's decision that why somebody has to be born in that family, in that line, and why here. And we don't have control on that. So people who are born that side of the line, they may be as talented as you are, but they have less opportunity. And as a human being, I feel, I personally feel, I don't require that kind of a wealth to lead a normal life. Actually, in real life, people have a lot of misunderstandings regarding wealth. You have a lot of money, you live happily. No, money is only a facilitator in life. But you cannot eat golden rice. You eat the same rice. You really don't require the huge wealth to be happy in life. You require a mindset to be happy in life. So I always feel the money which is given to me, I'm a daughter of a college professor, doctor, and granddaughter of a school teacher, which was a middle class life. And I think when the money was given to me, it has given for a real cause in life. The cause is to help people on the other side. And that's the main strength or inspiration for me.
To start writing books.
When I started writing, as a schoolgirl of your age, I told you I used to write a diary, 25 lines a day. Maybe I was 8 years old, I think. I started writing 8 years old, 9 years old, only 25 lines. By 16 or 17, I used to write good essays, actually. I remember when I was 16, I wrote people who are born after death of Gandhi. I wrote something, the India I have seen, I won't remember the title now, after death of Gandhi, what I see in India, or something like imaginary things. But I never published anything. When I was 20, I think I started publishing short stories, small one. But my first book came when I was 28, I think. 28. But I wrote maximum number of books in the last 20 years. Because with Infosys Foundation, I started going to all corners of India, meeting film actors, politicians, prostitutes, Devdasis, Kamatipura, schools, Army Navy camps, Ladakh region, Northeast region, and working in hurricane. All these experiences taught me the reality of life, and I could write more. But I started my first book, I think, was published when I was 28, I think.
Ma'am, this question sort of...
Actually, I'm so happy. One boy is asking question. Look at girls, they're so smart. I always believe girls are smarter than boys.
Ma'am, this one question is actually from an older brother, like, as my role is an older brother. How do you tell someone that you're there to help them? And when they ask you questions, how do you help them out?
No, I didn't get. If somebody asks me to help, how do I help?
Yeah, and how do you explain to someone that you're actually there to help them and not to just stand and watch?
Okay, please sit down. In Infosys Foundation, we get 400 calls a day altogether, incoming, outgoing, 400, around 350 emails, and about 200 letters or something. It's huge, actually, we get. We have our own process of elimination first. We do that. I'll tell you a story before that. Once, I don't know whether I have told this to some lecture or not, I don't remember. Once, about 15 years back, I was called as the chief guest to one music program. And normally I go little early than the schedule because I don't like to go late. It's a bad manners. Even today I think 5 minutes I was earlier than the schedule because I don't like to go late. So I went that day 15 minutes early. I sat in the corner at the back, and there were hardly few people because I was quite early. 2 women, well-off women with their diamond earrings and silk sari and all sitting and talking, and they were making remarks. My daughter is very dull. The second one told, how she will get married, I'm worried. I said, no, she should take up a job, then the boy is like a girl who is employed. So she said, yes, I was thinking, she said, okay, why can't she become a teacher? Then she told, no, I sent her to school and they said she's not capable, sent her back. Then she said, oh, tell her to do some social work. Then the other lady said, is it that easy? Yeah, it's very easy. You have not seen Sudha Murthy. Every day she comes in the paper. Her husband has earned money. She doesn't have a brain. So that's okay. That's okay. That's what they think. So she writes a check. Every day she comes in the paper. So your daughter can become a social worker like her. I said, okay, now let me talk, because it's something connected to me. So I tapped their shoulders and said, have you seen Sudha Murthy? Have you met her? Oh, of course we met her. They said, when did you meet her last? Today morning. I said, same Narayan Murthy's wife? They said, yes. I said, I am Sudha Murthy. No, that lady looks at me and tells, oh, you have changed so much from morning to evening. I told her, no, I want to clarify certain things with you. That's the reason I have talked to you. Don't ever look down upon teaching job. A teacher is the most respected job I ever think compared to any job, because they are creating characters, and that's the greatest thing. Look at software people. What do we create? Only programs. Whereas a teacher creates that many characters. Don't ever look down upon that. I said, if a doctor makes a mistake, the patient will go 6 feet below the ground. If a magistrate makes a mistake, the person will be hung 6 feet above the ground. If a teacher makes a mistake, the entire batch is wiped out. And it is such a sacred job. Don't ever look down upon that. Coming to social work. I said, just because one has money, one won't become social worker. One can be a donor. A person sits in front of me in 10 minutes, I should measure whether he or she is eligible for the help what you give. It is only a lip sympathy we talk. If I am giving money, how much I should give and when I have to stop. That means I have to assess a person sitting in front of me in 10 minutes. It's not like 10 days or something time I don't have, because I will have 17 appointments a day. So when a person comes to meet us and asking money, before that we do homework. For what they are asking, I have a loan of 50,000, we don't give. I am building a mandir, church or a masjid, we don't give. I'm a Brahmin. I said it is not a criteria to be in life. You belong to one other community. I'm a Kannadiga, very good, but we don't give any money. I belong to Congress or BJP, we don't give any money to such. So we go on eliminating first. Then it comes to hardcore. In that, if we help a person, we don't do any lip sympathy. Oh, I'm there with you, such things we don't talk. We give, we don't give. If we give, with the condition we give. If you don't give, there is nothing to give. Then, if we want to give, we go on a simple principle. If I help for a project, is it going to help lots of poor people in that area? Bahujana hitaya, bahujana sukhaya. If I help, people ask us, I got an admission in Harvard, will you help us? I said no. In the same money, I rather give 20 children who are doing engineering. Because one fellow going to Harvard doesn't make any difference to me. But I rather make 20 engineers who are more useful to their families and the country. So, larger effect or impact on a larger people is always our criteria. And that's the way that is the way we go on assessing things. Then before that we do a lot of homework. Suppose I want to give something to a hospital. Before that we say, who are the people Who are the trustees? How are the trustees? Are they corrupt? Who are the beneficiaries? Okay, all the studies we do, it is like a horoscope kind of study we do, and then we give. So, in our work, if I have 100 hours, I almost spend 70 to 75 hours on investigation and 25 hours only on execution. Like writing a check takes 2 minutes actually. Then after giving the check, then we have a milestone. First year how they did, second year how they did, third year how they did. So we want all the reports. Then we send a third party inspection how work they have done. So it's quite a complicated, but we do a lot of work before we give money.
Arsh,
Okay, tell me.
I've read a few of your books and I want to ask the question if they are really based on your life and they have a real meaning.
Which book you have read?
I've read the Secret of the Lost Temple, I think.
Okay, I'll tell you a story about it. I know the real things I will tell you. There are some books which are 100% real or 99% real. 1% I change the name, make the situation different. Wise and otherwise, the day I stopped drinking milk, how I taught my grandmother to read, they're all real. The old man and his God, they're all real stories. For children, grandma's bags of stories, magic drum, the bird with the golden wings, they're all imaginary. Whereas this book, the Magic of the Lost Temple, is 50%. I have a granddaughter by the name Anushka, and she is 4 years old. I'm assuming when she is 10, she will be like what I have written there. And the grandmother in that is me. Okay, that is me. And that was my granddaughter. And I lived in a village, but now I live in Bangalore. I assumed I go back and live in my village, and Anushka comes from Bangalore. How I will interact with her. They're all real, but imagination is I'm going to village. The pure imagination in that story is 3. The Somanaka temple, there are 3 temples, right? That's all imagination. 50% is truth, 50% is imagination. That's for Nooni I wrote, and even there I call her a Nooni in that. Yeah. Thank you for this.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Where are you, beta? Huh?
Yes, miss.
Huh.
Miss, I would like to ask you, would you like to share with us some of your experience with Infosys?
Which one? I have written that in one of my books, but which one you call?
I really don't know the name. Can you just tell anyone which you like?
It's hard to tell, but I can tell you, starting Infosys with a 10,000 rupees journey, I never ever thought or dreamt we'll become famous, rich, nothing I dreamt. We took it as an adventure and we started. The journey was more beautiful than the results. We did, of course, we became famous, we got money, etc. But the journey itself, without expecting anything, that journey itself was beautiful. And I think in one of my books I have written that I will do it is one lesson I remember. Other one is a mother's advice. Maybe my mother told me in life where to spend, where not to spend. That's one another. I suppose that's all I remember. But the journey of Infosys itself was a beautiful journey where, you know, we had very little money, but we had a lot of confidence because we never ran after money. Please remember, if you ran after money, money runs away from you. If you run after good work, money comes behind you. And that's what Infosys is, that we ran after a good value system. And money came. But if you wanted to make, we never thought of making big money, etc. My idea when we started Infosys was, I want to have a scooter and a 2-bedroom apartment. That's all my aim was there at that time. I never aimed money in my life at all, any moment of time, because money never fascinated me. It is the book which fascinated me. It is the knowledge which fascinated me. It is the children who they fascinated me. So my fascinations were so different. So money never fascinated me. So the journey of Infosys was more of our value system, how we ran, and with absolutely no money and absolutely nothing, we felt bad also. I used to drive the car. Later we had a car. I was a driver for a long time to drop everybody, pick up everyone. Then we all stayed in one house. Rohini Nilekani, myself, and Sudha Gopalakrishnan. We used to cook. I never used to cook. They used to cook, but I used to take the food. So we lived like a joint family for some time. And my children were looked after by Rohini Nilekani. They will not do office work, whereas I will do my office work. She will do other work. As I used to be, if programmer is on leave, I will go and do programming. After all, it was a journey of our 5 fundamental founders lived in a joint family, or different language, different community, different state, lived like one family, and lived with a value system. And that's what I can call our journey.
Can we open the questions to the parents, please? Just raise your hand and I'll...
Because last time I could not answer students in a crossword. I was feeling very bad. It was already 9:30. So I thought this time let me talk to children. That's it. Okay.
Ma'am, it's a pleasure to hear you today.
Pardon? Which one you ask question? Yes.
Ma'am, it's a pleasure to hear you today. And thanks, PTA, for organizing this. I really appreciate the qualities you said, that you wash vessels once in a year and do those kind of things to know what is happening. I would like to know, or your suggestions on for the school kids, what they can do in a year to keep themselves on the ground and be more aware about what is happening in the world.
You should do that, not they.
Yeah, I agree.
See, what happens, suppose you want your children should be aware of the reality, right? Okay, this is a way, please sit down, please sit down. This is a subjective way of telling, but how I did, I can tell you. My child came and told me, Amma, in our school there is a birthday party. I think there's a birthday party the big way, I suppose, nowadays. There's a birthday party, my friend's house, they take us to some 5-star restaurant. Some well-off parents can take. There's nothing wrong, because everybody has their way of doing birthdays. There's nothing, I will comment on that, going to 5-star hotel is less or not good or nothing of that sort. That's their parents' wish. He went once, I think his classmate's birthday was there, and my child, Rohan, my son, went to birthday party, came and said, Amma, it was so good, and my birthday, I want to take. I said, no, Bill, you can't take. He said, why? I said, Rohan, please remember, how much it will cost, let us talk about it. Each child, let us take 1,000 rupees. You call about 50 people, your class. How much it costs? 50 into 1,000 is how much? 50,000 rupees. He said, Rohan, please remember. I told there was a person who used to come and drive our car. I said, he has 2 children. They are as bright as you are. Okay? Their school fees are probably in those days 10,000. If you give 20,000 to them, they can go to a better school, beta. For your birthday, I am not denying you should not do, etc. I will buy samosa. Okay? I will buy samosa and rasna packet. Or nimbu sharbat, something there. No, mango drink was there. What is that? Maza, not maza. Fruity. Yeah. Fruity in those days. I am talking about 25 years back. So I will spend for 50 children plus our driver's children, everyone, altogether this much money. More than that, I think you should not spend, because what you are doing is wrong according to me. Those 2 children will not go to school, whereas you spend 50,000. And he didn't like it. What I said, he didn't like it. He said, oh, you always give me hishob, that means you always give me plus minus, always a balance sheet. I said, think over it, I will give you 3 days time. And after 3 days, he came back and said, okay, I agree, but along with samosa, you should give us 1 gulab jamun or something. I said, fine. Okay? So I told, and in front of him, I gave 10,000 to our driver's children in front, through his hand. I said, Bill, from your account, there is a 50,000 rupees. Out of that, this is the way you have spent. This much money is left, and this you should give it to some good cause. And I used to take my children, when I wash vessels, I used to take my children to wipe them. You have to take your children. Fortunately, I had a job like this, where I go to Lambani tribal area, etc. I used to take my children. Come with me. I can show you they are very good children there. They don't have an opportunity. Is it not your duty? So I used to tell me, you make me so guilty, Amma, to spend any money. And today, because every time you'll bring one case like that. So today he says, Amma, what you did was a fantastic education, that when we spend so much money, we never think of someone else. And that sense of caring for others. For example, we have a cook, and a cook always gets food. So the cooks normally used to eat in the kitchen. I told one day, Rohan, I was talking about equality in life or some topic. When they become 14, 16, I treated them like adult. Just like adult. At least after 14 boys, after 16, girls also 13 only have to do now, 1 year early. I treated them like adults, and we'll have a conversation on a dining table. I talked about equality, and I was talking about slavery in America. Equality is so important in life. Then he said, Amma, if that is equality, will our drivers, will our cook eat on the same table as ours? For a minute, I never thought about it. I said, yeah, why not? And he made it a point, our cooks eat at the same dinner table. But our cooks were hesitating, no, we don't want to eat. Then, I made a samsota, like you can eat after we eat. If you feel like eating, no, you don't want to eat with us, at least you use the dining table and eat on the dining table. It may be a small move, but that made a lot of awareness for my children, equality in life. When he was in Cornell school, Ron's birthday came, and I was thinking he was abroad in those days, what he will do. I would have been unhappy. This is my subjective opinion. If he spends so much money on a birthday, which comes every year, why waste that kind of money? It is not something like fantastic thing. It is not like we are Mahatma Gandhi born on October 2nd. We are ordinary people. We are just ordinary people. Let us not think that we are too great. If somebody says, oh, what do you think of yourself? I said, I'm a very ordinary person. Very ordinary person, but the situation made me great. The situation made me great. I'm very ordinary than like anybody else. You should bring up this idea with your children's mind. Look, my child, you are ordinary. Just because your father has money or I have money, you are not extraordinary. Money comes due to various reasons. Okay? And money, what you have, has a cost. That I made it to my children in a very young age. And when he was in Cornell, he wrote to me, and I have that email even today. He said, every mother looks after her child, but I am proud my mother looks after someone's children. That's the best compliment I can think of. He got a scholarship. Then he got a scholarship, and he sent the very little money. He must have had 1 lakh rupee or something, not great money. He wrote to me, Amma, this money should be spent on my birthday to all those Jawans who died in the parliament attack in 2001. They died there so that we can live in free democratic India. It is not a big money. It is not a big money. But that idea of sharing wealth with somebody, idea of being sensitive someone is poor and they have a right to live, and making equality along with our own driver and cook, such ideas you have to initiate to your children. That is very important. Most of the time we don't do that because we think what others will think, what is the status. Suppose my neighbor comes, my cook is eating on the dining table, what they think of us. All those false values, all those tightened compartments we build around what people think. Let them think what they think. You cannot live on people's opinion. You have to live on your own opinion. And that you should understand to tell your children. Children will be, for many years, children will carry your values. Later, once they are married, their wife's value, once they are exposed to different values, that goes on changing. But to some extent, great extent, you can reflect it. Yes, please.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah. This lady wants to, yellow dress, she wants to ask. Yeah.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Who is that?
Ma'am, this is your good afternoon. Thank you. It's a lovely afternoon. You have given us a very beautiful lecture as well as a very good knowledge. My last question, probably there may be many parents like me must be wanting to ask questions. One challenge which I am facing these days is gadgets. So how to correlate a story to have a restrictions on the gadget on my children or many parents like me.
I'm sure.
Thank you.
I'll tell you. Sometimes I say, thank God, my children are not born in this age, What are the gadgets we will have? iPhone. Phone is the most culprit, right? iPhone, iPad, laptop,
television.
Television. Let's take only 4. What is the age group of your children? Oh, still you can control, okay. Up to, up to 18 you can manage somehow. Once they go to college, it becomes hard. But again, okay, 10 and 13 still you can manage. Put the switch off TV, you don't see TV. Put off, sell the TV, no see TV at home. Or if you have TV and they're really fond of TV, as a dessert, 10 minutes. Okay, as a dessert, okay, put it off. Second thing, you have to tell children why not TV. Because once I told some film actor that one, anything, I can give a sermon, 2 people will understand. I can write a book, 10 people will read. If I act in a movie, thousands of people will understand. That's the result. Dangal is very, very good social message because entire country celebrates the birth of a daughter now. So, what you see in television, children absorb it with a high density. Most of the serials, with all ornament, fake though maybe fake, lot of ornament, big sindoor, and actually I'm wondering who wears that kind at home. I've never seen somebody wearing. And that chakpaki ka sari, red color, pink border, pink color, black border. And I wonder how do they work at home with that kind of a sari, because even with salwar kameez, it's so hard to work at home. They must be having 10 cooks at home, I feel, when I look at that. They're all unrealistic. You have to tell children, beta, they will make money. To make that money, they will add all these spices. But in real life, no family lives like that. So, I went to somebody's house. It was about 15 years, 20 years back actually. That day it was a Draupadi Vastraparana was there. And my friend's daughter was getting married. So she said, Sudha, the marriage at 6 o'clock. I said, what, 6 in the morning? December 6 in Bangalore means temperature is 10 degrees, 12 degrees. Who will come for Muhurta? She said, the Pandit said, today the Draupadi Vastraparana, 9 o'clock is serial, and 6 o'clock is one Muhurta. Other Muhurta is at 9 o'clock, and I will not conduct your daughter's wedding. 6 o'clock was the wedding Muhurta. So, you should see TV, but to not an extent become addictive or its slave. It may be TV, it may not be TV. In general, slavery is bad. It could be for gutka, it could be for cigarette, it could be for alcohol. Because, my next book is going to come with alcohol anonymous work, how people become alcoholic, how women become alcoholic, how children, parents seeing that children become. So on that I'm writing an essay, and for that I'm working on with alcohol people now. What makes them? They say any addiction is bad. It may be too much work, too much movie, too much television, too much eating. Anything too much is bad. Don't think watching TV is bad. Anything too much is bad. Anything too much is very bad. And that you have to tell children. Look, even I like to see, but I'm not seeing because I feel it's a waste of time. It don't happen in one day. It takes some time. And then they appreciate. Now coming to iPhone, iPad, okay? As a children, no, if they don't require, don't buy iPad. If they don't require, don't buy iPad. Don't give birthday gifts as iPad, iPhone, don't give. Tell me 10, 13 years why they require a phone. Give me one reason why do they require a phone. You want to call someone, call on the landline. Whom they can talk. You have to say that, why do you require a phone? Phone is meant for those people who are extremely busy, they have to communicate something. You are going school going child, why do you require it? So you say, I require phone only to talk when it is needed. You don't talk 2 hours on telephone to your mother, sister. You should not do that. I always tell, I will not talk to you for 2 hours. If I want to talk when children sleep, my sister is abroad, we want to talk sometime. When children sleep at 4 o'clock in the morning, today morning also, that habit has continued with me. If I have to talk to my brother and sister who are abroad, 4 in the morning I will call before children get up. 4 o'clock, 4 a.m. to 4:30. Because I want to communicate, but I don't want my children to say, you talk to your mother and brother half an hour and you tell us not to talk to my friends. Children give you that kind of a reply because they see. First, you have to restrain and tell children anything too much is bad. It is not TV. It is not iPad. Any habit, if you go in deep, is always bad. Okay? That's the one way. Second thing is, you sit with them and start reading with them. Nothing like reading. Nothing like quiz. Okay? Or I will tell you half story, you continue. Or you tell me what happened in the class. Okay, and you have to keep a channel open, talking about your school, your teacher, and they may use saying the teacher was not good. Never ever encourage such things. No, teacher is always right. Maybe you have mistaken. Never ever tell child your teacher is wrong. If you feel, maybe you can talk to a teacher, but never do that in front of a child. No. Yes, beta.
Sudhaji, we are very happy to have you here, and there's a lot of extraordinariness in the ordinariness that you have projected. But let us
tell me the question.
Let us let us know something about the harmonious relationship that you have with your husband, because one of the challenges that today's generation face, especially when two people are working as husband and wife, is to have a harmonious relation. I don't mean in terms of, the love which is deep inside. That is what I mean to say.
No, I make a joke on that. I have a good relationship with my husband because we hardly meet. I will tell you the answer. My husband travels 20 days in a month abroad. I travel 22 days in a month village. Okay? How many days are left? 6 to 8 days in a month. So when you are with each other for 6, 8 days, why fight? Okay? No, the real reason is not that. The real reason is, this is highly subjective, and I belong to one generation behind you. Please understand. I'm one generation behind you. The value system, the marriage, the commitment was so different than what it is today. You marry for life, that is the first fundamental thing. And my mother told me when I got married, if you fight with your husband and come back, I will not open the door. You have to adjust. And I married into a big joint family, which I was not used to. But one thing I realized, as a woman, every woman feels her husband should listen to her. Every woman feels. If someone says, I don't, then it's not correct actually, because that's what we expect in marriage. My husband should listen to me. Man also feels my wife should listen to me. That we don't worry. Over a period of time, I realized a person like Murthy, who eats, breathes, drinks Infosys, cannot spare any time for us, for the family. It is like a tapas. In olden days, Rishi used to go sit in a forest and do tapas. Today, you can sit in the electronic city and do tapas. Okay? The result of that tapas is Infosys. A son of a school teacher can build an empire like Infosys in one's lifetime of 30 years. It's not a joke. That means the person should be dedicated his entire life for that, dreaming about it, talking about it. Then what is his wife's duty? Expecting me, you have to take me out for a movie, you take me out for a sari birthday, you take me out for this. None of them are possible in his life. So, accept a person as he is. That is what I tell women. Accept your husband what he is. What he is not, don't imagine he should be like a Shah Rukh Khan. No. Accept your husband, that bundle. Some good points, some negative points. Because I have some plus, I have some minus. Accept your husband what he is. And the moment you accept, life becomes easy. Second thing, little bit philosophically I thought. After some time, not immediately after marriage, maybe after 5-6 years I realized. Everybody, like what I told, everybody has his or her own life. I have been brought up in a different atmosphere. My father was a doctor. Murthy's father was a school teacher. There were 8 children, we were 4 children. When you are brought up in a different atmosphere, your way of looking at life is also different. Why should I accept my husband should say this is the correct and what he was brought up is not correct? Similarly, he may be thinking about me also same way. Do not expect to see what you see through your eyes, your husband also should see the same way. The moment you please give him a liberty or freedom, what he likes, please allow him the liberty or the freedom, what he likes, why he wants to spend money on A, B, C, D, unless it's harmful for the family. Suppose he gives a little more money to your mother-in-law, little more money to sister-in-law. Let us assume that way. You may get upset for a minute, but you should also remember, whatever said and done, my husband used to do a lot more, actually. Lot more to mother-in-law, to his wife, compared to wife. Initially, I used to get upset. Then I realized, I knew my husband at the age of 26. First 26 years, who has taken care? She. She deserves more. She deserves more. Tell your mind, don't compete with her. After all, he was her son first, then my husband later. And this liberty gave me so much freedom not to contest with him for anything. And even now I tell him, look, as a friend, I feel what you are doing is wrong. As a friend, whatever projects they take, I think as a friend, if something is wrong, I tell him, as a friend, I will tell this is wrong. As a family unit, I'll accept it. Decision is yours. And I expect same thing from him. And he does that. As a friend, Sudha, this is not correct. As a family, I accept it. So, allow the freedom of men, and they should allow your freedom. That's the reason behind every successful woman, there is an understanding husband.
Ma'am, you are working from so many years actually till this age. How do you manage so many roles? How do you try to manage so many roles in a day in your life? And did you have any guilt any day while bringing up your children and all that?
Please, Rana, no guilt at all. No guilt at all. Because I've been very clear in my thinking consciously. One or two things I wish I could have learned yoga when I was young, but there was no yoga teacher in my village. I feel I should have learned that one. Second thing, I should have learned swimming, but I came from a village where there was scarcity of water. Forget about swimming. Okay, but by and large, no regret for me, because when you make a decision, be clear what you are going to do. Whenever you make a decision, we don't know it's right or wrong. At that moment, it looks right. Later, it may be wrong also. Only time will tell it was right or wrong. Again, what is wrong, what is right? They're all ambiguous questions. So by and large, I lead the decisions I take through my conscience. Through my conscience. So that's the reason I sleep every day, 8:30 sharp. And I'm not disturbed by any of these things. How do I manage all these things is, I enjoy my work actually. That's why I never feel tired. I never feel tired for any of my work. Today morning I must have got up at 4 to 4:30 I made a call, then came to airport, took a plane, came here, went for a meeting. From there I have come here. After I finish this, I go to the next meeting. And up to right 11 o'clock I have meetings. After 11 o'clock I'll come home. At 12 o'clock I will reach. Then 4:30 I should get up, 6 o'clock is my flight. I never get bored because I love my work. When you love your work, you never get bored. Tell me a job like this where I can meet so many people, so many children, so many people, learn so much from them. How many people will have this kind of an opportunity? So I love my job, so no strain for me. Second thing is, I don't spend any time on following things. Like I have never gone to market for 20 years. I have never gone to my market for 20 years. I really don't require anything from market. I don't attend weddings. Rarely I attend weddings. Rarely. Because I really get that much time, traveling for a wedding is quite a lot time, I feel. Third thing is, I have projects in my mind, one after another. I always keep serial projects in my mind. So I go on executing them, the next one. And writing gives me enormous happiness. So once I write, I'll rejuvenate myself. And I normally do not waste time in chit-chatting. There's nothing wrong in that, but I don't enjoy that. I rather convert that time for reading or anything. Basically, you should love your job, what you do. Then you're always young at heart. That's what I want to tell you.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, as you said right now, and in one of your interviews, you said that you have not shopped for many of years. So, how should we, in particular children, limit ourselves to not do something which we should not like?
No. I've not shopped for various reasons. One is, it is a custom in South India. I think my next book is going to have that essay. It is a custom in South India, when you go to Varanasi or Kashi, you should leave what you like the most. The lighter side on this is, I asked Narayan Murthy, why you have not gone to Varanasi? He told, what you like the most you have to leave. So I have to leave you, so I can't go. It is a joke. The custom is, when you go to Kashi, you have to leave what you like the most. There's a custom in South India. My grandparents were very old and they wanted to go to Kashi and have a bath in Ganga, like any religious people in India. And they could not do it because they were in a village, they were old also. So when I grew up, I went to Varanasi on their behalf, and I took water in my hand. I never thought about it. When the water was in my hand in the morning, and I saw sun and remembered the shloka, oh sun, you are the way. My grandfather was a Sanskrit scholar, so I learned Sanskrit in a very young age. We could converse in Sanskrit with him. So I took water in my hand and I remembered the shloka, oh sun, you are the witness in the Ganges, the Ganga of our country, who is a witness for all the civilization in our land. And then it says, I leave something to you. That struck me, what will I leave? Nothing, I became blank. Then I remembered, what is most important for a woman? It is shopping. Let me leave shopping forever to you, Ogan. That's it. After I had my bath, I came up and I said, what did I tell? I leave shopping forever in my life? How can I do that? Then my mind said, my conscience said, nothing is impossible in life. What is there to shop in life? It's okay. I was, I think, 45 years old, 45 years old. I said, you have shopped 45 years. What is there? It's only a mindset. And believe it or not, I removed my mind from shopping and I have not gone at all. Or I don't even know what is existing, what is non-existing, how much it costs, nothing. It has given me a tremendous strength to control the mind. Like how Jains do. Jains have a very fantastic way of controlling mind. And that is the best way, that what you like the most, you should leave it. But still I buy medicine, traveling, books and all those things. Still I do. Some good friends give me saris, once in a year or something. For the last 5 years, even I stopped taking saris also. I said, why do I need? After 60, you should never accumulate anything. Because it's the time where you have to give away. So, when you make our mind, think over it and make it. Make it and then don't break it. So don't make it when you're 10, 15 years. Let it be some 35, 40 years. By the time you've seen enough in life. Yeah, last question, okay? Yes, beta. Let her ask. After all, a child. Huh.
So some of the topics that you write about and that you focus on are very serious.
Like?
Like dowry deaths. I just read Wise and Otherwise. What inspired you to stand up for all these?
They're all real. Yeah. They're all real. I've seen dowry death. Then that's the reason I used to work in that area. Then I wrote it. What I see, I write. Okay.
Yeah. Miss, one of your stories was about how you helped 2 young boys who were underprivileged, and moving on in life, one became a shop. He owned a
garage fellow.
And one was a doctor.
That Bombay doctor, Khar doctor.
Yeah, and he charged you more in the pretext of charging less, and the other person gave you a sari for no cost. Ma'am, I just wanted your advice on how you judge people. I mean, how would you know what a person's intentions are, and how do you filter out yourself the people who mean well and people who don't?
It's very difficult actually how to know what person is, because everybody talks very sweet to you. Particularly when you have a lot of money to give, people will be very nice to us. Okay? But if someone talks too much about me, I think ati vinayam durta lakshanam. That means this fellow you never know. Second thing, if you don't expect anything, whether they give or not doesn't matter. But by and large, you can, over a period of time with your experience, 90% of the time you can make out what is their intention. And if someone says, okay, I will do all these too many things, no, then you have to take pinch of salt. So by and large, we realize, but sometimes we do go wrong. It's the human nature. Greed it is not the people. Greed makes them to do that one. If you can make out that person has a greedy trait, then you know this fellow is going to googly to me later in life.
Did you always know you wanted to write and become an author? Was that your passion from the beginning?
Did I know diary?
Did you always know you wanted to write a book when you grew up?
No, actually, I was quite, please sit down. I was quite blank about my future when I was young. I used to read, go to school, learn, always reading. I have taken life as it came. But maybe by 16, I made up my mind what I want to become. I wanted to become an engineer and I wanted to write. So at 16 or 17, I decided what I want to become. Before that, no. Before that, like a carefree. It's okay? Thank you very much.